Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. In this video, we will build an augmented reality application called the AR1 and we will run it inside our Android smartphone. Now, for building the AR1 application, we first need to set the SDK and the JDK path inside a Unity software. In my system, the SDK folder is located inside C drive, users, Dinesh, app data, local, Android/SDK folder. If you do not know where the SDK folder is located inside your system, then you have to first open Android Studio, and after opening Android Studio, you have to click on this option which says SDK Manager. If the SDK Manager option is not available over here, then you can click on Tools, Android, and inside Android, you will get the SDK Manager option. Okay, and if I open the SDK Manager option, then inside the SDK Manager option, you will get the Android location. Okay, so as you can see, this is the location where the SDK is stored inside my system, that is C, users, Dinesh, app data, local, Android, SDK. So guys, after finding the SDK path, next I'll open the Unity software. After this, to set the SDK and the JDK path, I'll click on Edit. I'll then go in Preferences. I'll then click on External Tools. Next, I'll scroll down. And as you can see, inside External Tools, we now have this option of Android. And inside the Android option, we need to set the SDK and the JDK path. So to set the SDK path, I'll click on the Browse button. Now, the location of my SDK path is shown over here. Okay. So I'll first open the C drive. Next, I'll open the Users folder. After Users, I'll open Dinesh. After opening the Dinesh folder, the next folder which I need to open is the app data. But guys, if you look very carefully, the app data folder is not visible, and that is because the app data folder is basically an invisible folder. So to make the app data folder visible, I'll open my file explorer. Next, with the this PC option selected, I'll click on the view option. And after clicking on the view option, next I'll check the hidden items checkbox. So I'll again click on view, and as you can see, I have checked the hidden items checkbox. Okay, so now we should be able to see the hidden folders or the invisible folders. Okay, so I'll again go inside Unity. Next, I'll again click on the Browse button. So I'll go in C drive, Users, Dinesh. And now guys, as you can see, we are able to see the invisible folders. Okay, and the app data folder, which was previously not visible, is visible now. Okay, so I'll open the app data folder. Inside the app data folder, I'll open the local folder. Inside the local folder, I'll then open Android, and inside the Android folder, I have this SDK folder. And if I open the SDK folder, then as you can see, these are the SDK components present inside the SDK folder. Okay, so I'll move back and I'll select the SDK folder, and then I'll click on select folder. Okay, now guys, please make sure that you have to select the SDK folder and then you have to click on select folder. So guys, as you can see, I've basically set the path for my SDK. Next, I'll set the JDK path. So I'll click on the Browse button neighboring to the JDK option. And when I click on the Browse button neighboring to JDK, you can see the JDK folder is directly opened, and the JDK version which we had installed in the previous video was JDK 1.8.0_121. Okay, so I'll select the JDK 1.8.0_121 folder. After this, I'll click on select folder. Okay, now guys, please make sure that you have to select the JDK folder and not the JRE folder. So I'll select the appropriate JDK version and then I'll click on select folder. So guys, as you can see, I've basically set the SDK and the JDK path. Okay. After this, I'll close the Unity preferences, and next, to build our game, I'll click on File. I'll then click on Build Settings. Now guys, inside the build settings, as you can see, the Unity logo is currently set to PC, Mac and Linux standalone. Okay, but since we are building this AR1 game for our Android smartphone, so I'll select the Android platform, and next I'll click on Switch Platform, so that the platform is switched from PC, Mac and Linux standalone to Android. So guys, as you can see, the Unity logo is on the Android platform. So that means the platform is switched to Android. Okay, now after switching the platform, next let's add a AR scene inside the build settings. So I'll open the data files folder. Next I'll open the scenes folder and I'll add the AR scene inside the build settings. Okay, and after adding the AR scene, next I'll click on the player settings option, and inside the player settings option we need to make certain changes. Okay, now guys, if you look on top, the first option which we have is the company name. So in place of company name, you can put your website name if you want. Okay, now since I have a website called as Engineer's Dream, so I'll put my website name over here. You can put your own name over here if you do not have a website or if you do not have a company. Below the company name, we have the product name. So the product name is set to AR1. Okay, and I'll leave the product name to AR1 itself. The product name basically represents the application name. That is, when we build an augmented reality application, the name of our application will be AR1. Now, below the product name, we have this option of default icon. So I'll basically set one icon, or I'll basically set one logo for my AR1 app. So I'll close the build settings. Next, as you can see on my desktop, I have created one logo. So this will be the logo for my AR1 app. So I'll open the data files folder and I'll drag it inside the data files folder so that it is copied inside it. Next, I'll drag the AR1 logo image in place of the default icon. So guys, I basically set the logo for my AR1 augmented reality application. After this, I'll scroll down and I'll click on resolution and presentation option. Okay, and as you can see, the default orientation is set to auto rotation. So I'll change this to landscape left so that when the application starts, the screen will be oriented directly to landscape left. After this, I'll scroll down and I'll click on other settings, and inside the other settings tab, we have to make certain changes. Now guys, if you look over here, inside the other settings option, we have this option of package manager, which is currently set to com.company.product name. Okay, so in place of company name, I'll put my website name, that is Engineer's Dream. Okay, so you can put your own name over here if you do not have a website or if you do not have a company. And in place of product name, I'll put my application name, that is AR1. Okay, and guys, since this is a package name, please make sure that you use lowercase letters over here. Now below the package name, we have the version and the bundle version code. So I'll leave the version to 1.0 and I'll leave the bundle version code to 1. And below the bundle version code, we have this option of minimum API level. Now guys, in the minimum API level, you need to choose the minimum or the lowest Android version on which your AR1 application should run. I have a phone which runs on Marshmallow, so the minimum API level which I'll choose is KitKat. Okay. Another reason why I'm choosing the KitKat version is because these days there are very few people who use an Android smartphone that runs on Jelly Beans ice cream sandwich or versions lower than that. Okay. Now guys, below the minimum API level, we have the target API level, which is currently set to automatic highest installed. So the automatic highest installed option means that the target API level will be set to Nougat, as Nougat is the latest Android version by the time of this recording. Okay. So guys, I basically finished with the build settings, and next to build the game, I'll again click on file. I'll click on build settings. Next, I'll click on the build button. And in place of file name, I'll write down AR1. Okay, and as you can see, the extension of this file is .apk. So I'm basically creating an APK file for my AR1 application. Okay, so after giving this a name of AR1, next I'll click on save. And as you can see, my AR1 application has started building. So guys, as you can see, the APK file for our AR1 application is built. Next, let's copy this file inside our Android smartphone and let's check the final output.